Think about the last time you were expecting a really major delivery.
Oh, yeah.
Like you've been tracking this package for days, you know exactly what you ordered, and you have this highly specific picture in your head of what's going to be inside that box.
Right, you've totally built it up.
Exactly. And then it finally arrives and you tear it open and the contents just, they completely shatter your expectations.
Yeah.
It's not just, a different item or like a wrong color. It's something that operates on a completely different logic than what you thought you were getting.
It forces a complete recalibration, really.
Yeah.
That moment of disorientation is so jarring, but sometimes if you are willing to actually look at what you received, it turns out to be far more profound than the thing you originally thought you needed.
Completely. And that exact feeling, that really intense collision of massive expectations and just shocking reality, that is the heartbeat of what we are getting into today. So welcome to our deep dive.
Glad you're here with us.
And as we unbox today's incredible source material, I just want to offer a sincere divine blessing over you. May God bless your day today, and may you be deeply blessed in the week ahead, wherever you're listening from.
Yes, absolutely.
We are looking at a text today that deals with some heavy, literally world-shifting paradigms. Specifically, we're diving into the Gospel of John, chapter 12, and we're guided by some really comprehensive study notes and textual analysis.
Yeah, and the overarching mission today, our real goal isn't just to retell an ancient story. We are unpacking the intersecting motivations of the people in this narrative.
Right.
We're diving into this crazy moment of extravagant devotion, incredibly dangerous political expectations, and frankly, some deeply tragic fear.
It's a lot all at once.
It really is. And all of this unfolds just 6 days before the crucifixion. So to set the scene for you, we are in the town of Bethany, and the atmosphere is it's an absolute pressure cooker.
Oh, for sure.
Jesus is attending a dinner, which would be the main banquet meal of the day, and he's sitting alongside a man named Lazarus.
Okay, wait. We have to pause on Lazarus immediately. Because, he isn't just a random guest at a dinner party.
Not at all.
Jesus has very recently raised him from the dead.
Right.
So you have Jesus, who is increasingly, a massive target of the religious authorities, just casually reclining next to a man who is walking, talking, breathing evidence of miraculous power.
Yeah, the tension in that room must have been completely suffocating.
I can't even imagine. The stakes are as high as they get.
They really are. And right in the middle of this incredibly high-stakes dinner, an action occurs that basically just stops the entire room.
Yeah.
The text details that Lazarus' sister, she takes a pound of pure nard. Now, this is an incredibly precious imported perfume from India.
Super rare.
Very. And she proceeds to anoint Jesus' feet with it and then wipes his feet with her hair. And the study notes emphasize that the sheer volume of the perfume meant the entire house was just instantly overwhelmed by the scent.
And the cultural context you find in the sources makes this even more staggering, honestly. Because in first-century Jewish culture, women rarely, if ever, let their hair down in public.
Right. It was a massive social taboo.
Massive. So by unbinding her hair to wipe his dusty feet, Mary is performing this shocking act of humility and absolute devotion. She is bypassing every social convention in the book.
Yeah, and she is also bypassing every financial convention.
Oh, cool.
The notes put a really precise value on this perfume, 300 denarii. And a denarius was the standard daily wage for a laborer back then.
Okay, let me frame that for you, the listener. 300 denarii is essentially an entire year's salary.
Yeah.
Imagine someone today walking into a tense, formal dinner party with, like, a $50,000 or even $100,000 bottle of vintage imported fragrance.
Right.
And they just decide to pour every single drop of it onto someone's feet in one sweeping motion. It is staggering, reckless extravagance.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that staggering extravagance instantly draws a really sharp contrast because you have this pure, completely uncalculated devotion from Mary, and it immediately triggers pushback from Judas Iscariot.
Yeah.
He speaks up and asks why this perfume wasn't sold for 300 denarii so the money could be given to the poor.
And, I have to be honest. If I'm sitting at that table without any prior context, Judas sounds like the responsible one.
He totally does.
Like, it sounds like a deeply pragmatic, socially conscious objection. Like, hey, we could have fed so many people with that.
Exactly. But the text anticipates that exact reaction from the reader, and it explicitly pulls back the curtain on Judas's internal world.
Yeah, the real motive.
Right. The study notes highlight that Judas harbored zero actual concern for the impoverished. He was the treasurer for the disciples, and while he was secretly embezzling from their funds.
Wow.
So his objection isn't driven by charity at all. It's driven by the painful realization of a missed opportunity for a massive theft.
So you have pure devotion and absolute deception sitting shoulder to shoulder in the exact same room.
It's wild.
And then Jesus steps into this friction and defends Mary. He tells Judas to leave her alone, and he states that she is keeping this perfume to prepare him for the day of his burial. Which, I mean, it introduces an incredibly somber reality right into the middle of a celebration.
Yeah, the shadow of the cross is already falling over the banquet.
Definitely.
And while the scent of that nard is probably still lingering in the house, the news of this gathering is spreading way beyond Bethany.
Right.
A massive crowd of Jews discovers Jesus is there, and they flock to the town. But the sources point out they aren't just coming for Jesus. They are coming to see the resurrected Lazarus.
Which makes sense. I mean, you can debate theology with a rabbi all day long, but you cannot debate a formerly dead man who is currently sitting there eating dinner.
You really can't. The undeniable proof of Lazarus basically forces the hands of the religious elite.
Oh, yeah.
The chief priests observe this mass defection of their followers, and according to the notes, they form a deliberate plot to kill Lazarus as well. To stop the movement, they decide they just have to destroy the evidence.
That is so dark. And that boiling antagonism really sets the stage for the very next day. Which brings us to what is traditionally called the triumphal entry.
Right.
Jesus leaves Bethany and heads toward Jerusalem, and a massive crowd surges out to meet him. They're waving palm branches and shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel."
And to really understand the collision of expectations happening here, which goes back to what we said at the start, we need to decode the jargon of that crowd.
Let's do it.
So the word Hosanna is essentially a desperate plea, meaning save us now.
Okay.
Furthermore, the study notes explain that the palm branches were not merely like festive decorations. They were fiercely nationalistic symbols. They were often minted on Jewish coins during times of rebellion.
Wow. Okay. So they aren't throwing a welcome parade here. They are initiating a full-on political rally.
Exactly. They are hailing a Davidic king, meaning a militaristic conqueror from the royal line of David.
Right.
They are anticipating a liberator who will march into Jerusalem, violently overthrow the Roman occupation, and restore the sovereign throne of Israel. Basically, they want a warlord.
And here is where I struggle with the narrative, right? The crowd is basically handing Jesus the script for a massive military coup.
Yeah, it's right there for him.
They have the numbers, they have the fervor. So why does Jesus completely reject that script? Because the text says he purposely finds a young donkey and chooses to ride in on that instead of, say, a war horse.
It's because the choice of the donkey is a brilliant, highly intentional visual statement.
How so?
Well, the study notes connect this action directly to an ancient prophecy in Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9.
Okay.
By arriving on a donkey, Jesus is subverting their expectations of violence. He is visually declaring his identity as a humble, peaceful shepherd king. He is explicitly stating, "I am not the warlord you ordered."
He is radically changing the packaging of the Messiah. But what's fascinating is that the notes mention even his own inner circle, his disciples. They completely missed the point in the moment.
Yeah, they were just as confused.
Right, so why didn't they understand what he was doing?
The mechanics of their understanding really relied on hindsight and, well, divine illumination. The text notes they didn't grasp the profound symbolism of the donkey until much later, after Jesus was glorified.
Meaning what?
Meaning, after his resurrection and the subsequent arrival of the Holy Spirit, in the heat of the parade, they were just caught up in the nationalist fervor just like everyone else.
So while the disciples are confused and the crowd is cheering, the local religious leaders are panicking. They say to each other in exasperation, "Look, the whole world has gone after him."
Yeah.
And the text uses that hyperbole as a clever transition because suddenly the literal outside world arrives on the scene.
Right. The narrative introduces a seemingly minor detail, but it has colossal implications.
Yeah, it does.
Among the crowds who came to worship at the festival are some Greeks. Now, these are likely God-fearing Gentiles, non-Jews who respected the God of Israel. And they approach the disciple Philip and make a very simple request. "Sir, we wish to see Jesus."
And Philip tells Andrew, and they take this message to Jesus. And Jesus treats the arrival of these Greek outsiders as the ultimate trigger. Like, this is the moment.
Oh, completely.
Huh.
Because throughout his ministry up to this point, Jesus has repeatedly stated, "My hour has not yet come."
Right.
But the arrival of the Greeks signals a massive shift. The perimeter of his mission is expanding beyond the Jewish people to encompass the nations. So it prompts Jesus to declare, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified.
But again, his definition of being glorified operates on a completely different logic than anyone there expects.
Yeah, it's that unexpected delivery again.
Exactly. He immediately pivots to an agricultural analogy, saying, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit.
It's a profound paradox. It explains the exact mechanism of his entire mission.
Yeah, like think about it for a second. Think about a single seed sitting safely in a jar on a shelf.
Okay.
It is perfectly preserved, right?
Right.
But as long as it stays on that shelf, it will only ever be just one seed.
Right, doing nothing.
Exactly. The biology of a seed requires it to be buried in the dark earth. Its outer shell has to be broken apart. It basically has to die to its original form in order for the life inside to be released and create a massive harvest.
Such a powerful image.
And the study notes clarify that Jesus is applying this directly to himself. He is explaining how his impending death is an absolute necessity to bring spiritual life to the rest of the world.
And acknowledging that reality carries an immense emotional weight for him.
I'm sure.
The text says his soul is troubled, and the Greek word there implies a deep agitation or restlessness.
He knows what's coming.
He does. Yet, rather than asking to be rescued from this fate, he prays, Father, glorify your name.
And then a voice literally answers from heaven saying, I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. And the sources provide a really fascinating look at the crowd's divided reaction to this phenomenon. Like, some people merely heard a loud noise and rationalized it as thunder.
Which the notes mentioned was a traditional symbol of a divine manifestation in Jewish literature anyway.
Right. While others in the crowd argued that an angel had spoken to him.
And Jesus clarifies that the voice occurred for the crowd's benefit, not his own.
Right.
And then he makes this sweeping cosmic declaration. He says, now is the judgment of this world. Now the prince of this world will be cast out.
And the study notes explicitly identify this prince of the world as Satan in his fallen state.
Yeah.
Jesus is outlining the mechanics of a cosmic victory here. The impending cross isn't just a tragic Roman execution. It is the definitive weapon that defeats the devil.
Exactly. And he follows that by saying, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself.
Now that phrase, lifted up, is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, no pun intended.
Oh yeah, it's working on two distinct theological levels simultaneously. On a brutal physical level, it refers directly to the mechanics of crucifixion.
Right, being hoisted up.
Yeah, being hoisted into the air on a wooden beam to suffocate. The text explicitly notes he said this to indicate the kind of death he would die.
But there is a spiritual reality happening at the exact same time, isn't there?
Precisely. On a spiritual level, being lifted up refers to his exaltation. Through the very act of this humiliating death, he is elevated to a position of ultimate cosmic authority.
Right.
And that's what enables him to draw all types of people, including those newly arrived Greeks, to himself.
So put yourself in the shoes of the crowd standing there.
It's gotta be confusing.
Beyond confusing. You are riding the high of the palm branches. You are desperate for a conquering king to smash the Romans. And the man you are cheering for starts talking about being a dying seed and being lifted up to be executed?
Yeah, that doesn't fit the warlord narrative.
Not at all. So the crowd experiences this intense theological standoff. They push back, saying, we have heard from the law that the Christ remains forever. So how can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man?
And we really have to unpack the title Son of Man here, because the crowd is referencing Daniel chapter 7.
Okay, what does that say?
In Daniel, the Son of Man is presented as a glorious eternal ruler who is given an everlasting dominion that will never be destroyed.
Ah.
So their theological framework was incredibly rigid. They had a box for a triumphant Messiah, and a dying Messiah absolutely did not fit the dimensions of that box. They just cannot reconcile the two concepts.
And this leads to one of the most sobering sections of the study notes, honestly. It references the ancient prophet Isaiah.
Yes, this is the tough part.
The text states that even though Jesus had performed so many undeniable signs in front of them, they still did not believe. And the notes explain this fulfills Isaiah's prophecy, that God has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them.
Yeah, this presents a massive theological tension regarding divine sovereignty and human responsibility.
And I really struggle with this part of the text, to be honest.
It's common to struggle with this.
Because on the surface, it feels incredibly unfair. Like if God is actively blinding their eyes and hardening their hearts, how can the text also hold these people responsible for not believing?
Right.
It sounds like they never had a choice in the matter.
And that is the exact friction the study notes address.
Mm-hmm.
But the mechanism of this hardening is not arbitrary.
Okay, explain that.
Well, the notes point out that these people had repeatedly and willfully rejected the clear evidence placed in front of them.
Like Lazarus.
Exactly. Miracles as blatant as Lazarus walking out of a tomb. They hardened their own hearts first because the truth didn't match their political desires.
I see.
So the divine blinding mentioned by Isaiah is actually what's called a judicial hardening. It is God handing them over to the very blindness they stubbornly chose for themselves. So their unbelief is entirely culpable.
Wow. Okay, so they chose the darkness, so the darkness was locked in.
Essentially, yes.
But the text reveals a really fascinating psychological twist right after this. Not everyone in the leadership rejected him.
Right.
The sources explicitly state that many of the authorities actually did believe in Jesus.
They believed, but they remained completely silent.
And again, I have to push back here. Because if you actually believe this man is the divine Messiah and you have seen a dead man walking around Bethany, how powerful could the local authorities possibly be to keep your mouth shut?
You'd think nothing could stop you.
Right. Why wouldn't you shout it from the rooftops?
Because the threat of the Pharisees was absolute. The text says they were terrified that if they publicly confessed their belief, they would be put out of the synagogue.
Which means what exactly?
Well, to a modern listener, being expelled from a synagogue might just sound like having to find a new place to attend services on the weekend.
Right, like finding a new church.
Yeah, but in the first century Jewish world, the synagogue was the epicenter of all religious, social, and economic life.
So it's not just missing a service.
No, it is total societal exile. If you were cast out, you were isolated from your community, you couldn't trade in the marketplace, your own family might disown you.
Wow.
It was essentially a socioeconomic death sentence.
And the text gives this brutally honest, devastating summary of their internal calculus. It says, they loved the glory of men more than the glory of God.
It is a profound diagnosis of the human condition.
Yeah, really cuts deep.
The study notes emphasize that this intense desire for human praise, the need for the approval of your peers and the preservation of your social standing, it's a massive, sometimes insurmountable obstacle to genuine faith.
Right.
These leaders traded eternal truth for temporary social security.
They loved the glory of men more than the glory of God. That is just a heavy sentence to sit with. And it sets the stage for Jesus' final desperate plea to the public in this chapter.
Yeah, he cries out, he makes this loud, urgent public appeal that essentially summarizes his entire earthly mission.
What does he say?
He declared that he is a light that has come into the world, offering a way out so that whoever believes in him will not remain in the dark.
And he also clarifies the specific purpose of his presence at that exact moment. He states he didn't come to judge the world, at least not in that first coming, but to save the world.
Right. However, he pairs that offer of salvation with a sobering warning. The very words he is speaking, the truth he is offering them right there in Jerusalem, will be the ultimate standard of judgment on the last day.
Wow.
To reject his words is not merely rejecting a rabbi, it is rejecting the Father who sent him. They are entirely unified.
It is a profound mic drop at the end of an incredibly tense week in the narrative.
It really is.
And we have covered immense ground today, from the pure nard and the palm branches to the dying seed and the fear of the Pharisees. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to ponder as you go about the rest of your day.
Always good to have something to reflect on.
Exactly. We started this deep dive by talking about the shock of getting a delivery that completely defies your expectations.
Right.
The crowds in Jerusalem missed who Jesus really was because he absolutely refused to fit into the specific box they had constructed for him.
Yeah, they wanted the warlord.
They ordered a violent warrior. He arrived as a humble king on a donkey. They demanded a quick political victory. He operated on the logic of a grain of wheat that had to be buried in the dirt to bring about real, lasting life.
It's such a complete paradigm shift.
So the question to ask yourself is this: how often do we fail to see the truth right in front of us simply because it doesn't arrive in the packaging we expected? Do we demand that reality conforms to our preconceived desires, or are we willing to accept the truth even when it requires us to completely tear open our expectations and change our minds?
That's a powerful question to sit with.
I think so too. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We truly appreciate your time and we appreciate your curiosity as we navigated these really heavy concepts together.
Thanks for listening.
And as we sign off, we just want to say clearly once again, God blesses all of you listening today. Take care, and we will catch you next time.